Welcome, guys. I wanted to kind of start with just a quick round of introductions. I am Eric Myers. I am a senior solutions consultant here at Treasure Data. And here today, I am joined by Brandon Moore from Infoverity. We're going to be walking you all through a little bit more of the refined details and some of the features that are associated with customer journey orchestration and how you guys can actually adopt a proper orchestration tool and an orchestration mindset within your org. Brandon.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'm Brandon Moore. I'm here with Infoverity, global enterprise data management consultancy and systems integrator partner of Treasure Data. I spend most of my time doing client strategy and delivery advisory, and I also manage the relationship with Treasure Data. So really excited to talk more about customer journey orchestration and how to make sure that you guys can set yourselves up for success using the tool.
Yeah, absolutely. So just a quick show of hands. How many of y'all in the room are Treasure Data customers today? Fantastic. How many of y'all also are customer journey orchestration owners within your licenses? How many of y'all have the tool already in your hands? Ooh, less. But again, now I have my victims. Lovely. So guys, I want to start by kind of walking you through customer journey orchestration. When you start looking at this tool, again, you're going to see a lot of familiar features that you're used to within the Treasure Data platform. As with all things in Treasure Data, this is built upon the same Audience Studio platform that enables you to do quick and easy segmentation all the way across the board. So again, the exact same interface that you're used to that allows you to do that click, drag, and drop from your parent segment, and then at that point, drive your actual segmentation is literally built in as the bedrock of this particular platform. So you'll see the exact same kind of journey that's going to be enabled here. For instance, for this one, I'm just saying, great, we know the phone. We either know the phone or email. And then I've selected a string of 10 random state values, and we will add an 11th to just go ahead and show you exactly how we're able to orchestrate within here. Again, you start with this core segment, but the beautiful piece of this is what customer journey orchestration really enables you to do as a user is it gives you a graphical user interface to then be able to put the machine learning and all of your customer data into the hands of your marketers across the board with a drag and drop ease of use. So you'll see that in this particular retail journey, what I've said is that, again, we want to focus first on actually pulling in a next best channel formula. So this is something that can either be enabled via the AutoML products or via a treasure box. But again, this is pulling in live data signals from across your actual campaigns that are running to say, these users are more likely to open an email or these users are more likely to open a Facebook ad. You could expand this up to 7 layers deep per decision point here, meaning you can split the original segment that you have in here into 7 subgroups to then best market to your customers. The kind of chief idea of this type of platform is that we want to give you the ability to connect to whatever marketing platforms, features, and functions and channels that are going to enable your teams to best reach your customers at the end of the day. So you'll see as I continue to scroll over to here, the ability to add in the exact same interface that you have for activations inside Treasure Data is literally as easy as dragging and dropping. So you'll see already within this best channel is email. I have an email campaign and then I've added a wait period. This just means that I'm going to take a brief pause. Some other interesting uses I've seen for these kind of wait steps is to avoid becoming the overly eager business that the minute you leave my e-commerce site, I all of a sudden start retargeting to you literally across the entire country. Or the individuals where you set up with an outbound call center to then follow up with me literally immediately after I have left a particular form or site. It's a way for you to add a little bit of breathing room for your customers, and as well as that, to give these channels a minute to take in the middle. One other big feature of customer journey orchestration is the ability to set a goal. So while I have a beautifully orchestrated journey across a variety of steps and campaigns, at the end of the day, my core goal is to make a purchase, right? So the minute that I actually go through and buy a product from this particular site, I am no longer a part of this journey. You are no longer spending money on the media campaigns, you are no longer spending the time on the emails, and you are no longer hounding your customers for things that they've already bought from you. And at that point, you have the ability to either eject these individuals from your campaign entirely, or as you see in this example, we have the ability to actually integrate with other journey orchestrations, meaning you have the ability to take that machine learning based journey that we've set up here and then jump these individuals straight over to your loyalty flow, meaning that at that point you have the ability to deepen that client relationship, encourage a level of advocacy, and then drive this relationship forward so that you can turn a current customer, whether that be first time or 200th time they're purchasing from you, into a complete advocate who's willing to not only bring in themselves, but they're also willing to bring in their friends, family, and otherwise in the mix. So what I have stated here is that, again, between each of the phases that you have the ability to set up inside of this customer journey, you can set up to 8 of these at this time. That's a number that continues to grow as our team works to grow this infrastructure. But within each stage of the journey, you set up a milestone, meaning a specific action that you want your individuals within this journey to complete before you move them on. For this one, I've said that I wanted them to engage with my landing page, meaning that this is somebody who clicked through an ad, who clicked through on an email, or who functionally found a link somewhere out on the internet with like an influencer or some other kind of social network that they clicked on to engage with my particular promotion. At that point, this Facebook versus email best channel campaign absolutely evaporates and they are no longer eligible because then they moved from the awareness phase into intent. What this drives for y'all as an organization is it means you're not spending extra money on campaigns that are already done marketing at that phase of your funnel for your customers, and that you're able to drive messaging that actually matches your customer where they are, not only in the purchase journey, but that as well allows you to do so across channels throughout these different pieces of the puzzle along the way. Anything to add, Brandon?
I think we're going to dive in a bit deeper, but
Totally.
There's a million different use cases when we think about automation and journeys. Obviously, loyalty is one of them, retargeting, welcome workflows. And so I'll say that you've got everything at your fingertips. You just got to make sure that there's a concrete use case and alignment across both the business and then the technical folks who may have a hand in configuring this, but also it's a very business-ready tool, as you can see, where it's intuitive enough to go configure depending on your skill set.
And generally speaking, whenever I look at a tool like this, I mean, it's something that alongside my sales team that I work with here at Treasure Data, I mean, I literally have watched them configure user journeys, and I assure you, my AE teams are brilliant. But as well, if they can do this, promise you, your marketing team has got this down. At the end of the day, it's also a situation where you have the ability to avoid wasting additional money based upon your ability to actually expire stale profiles, meaning people who have sat in a particular phase of your journey, whether that be all the way up at the awareness phase alongside with intent, or all the way down to an abandoned cart where you thought that person for sure was about to buy your product. If after, in this case, after 30 days, this individual who I thought was in the intent phase is done, the beautiful piece of this is I have the ability, again, to say, great, let's stop spending money on this individual. Clearly, erroneously, we thought they were very interested, but turns out, very frankly, in this kind of a buying cycle, they weren't. So then we can drop them either completely out of this journey and out of all of our campaigns, or we can push them to a less aggressive or a less persistent level of media campaign where we say, okay, great. We still want to remain top of mind because we've already done the work and we've spent the money and we've done the emails to actually get out there to them. But at the same time, I'm not quite ready to lay out the entire farm in order to functionally convert them into a customer because they're not quite interested enough. The beautiful pieces here is that as well, another interesting use case, and this is one that we actually played through with in this particular example, is to play with things like cart abandonment. So somebody that adds a product to a cart. That's where we actually move these individuals beyond just that intent phase because, again, this person has literally said, I'm ready to buy this. At that point, then we can follow up with an email. Again, all of this can be rearranged in this easy drag and drop interface. But as well, the newest feature to this particular product set is the use of A/B testing. This A/B test in particular is one that allows you to not just like with a Salesforce Marketing Cloud or like with your email marketing platform, orchestrate within one channel, but you're actually getting the ability to A/B test your messaging across channels, across messages, across creative, and as well across offers. What I've set up in this particular example is an accelerated offer versus my general 10% off email reminder that you would have from a typical affiliate account. So again, by offering 20% off and continuing to not only propagate that message across Google, across Facebook, and across email, I have the ability to really encourage that kind of invisible conversion that we heard about this morning, that invisible experience that's really here to drive that true customer onboarding for your clients. And as well, this is something that seems almost implicit because you're able to meet that customer where they are, rather than assuming, hey, I need to pepper someone with emails, phone calls, or otherwise. We were actually speaking with a client earlier today that said that honestly, their call center quite directly calls over 5 to 10 times a day. Does that matter though if those individuals, frankly, aren't going to be the ones to pick up the phone? If we already know that this is somebody who's much more likely to respond to an email, would it be a better use of our time, our money, and our energy to utilize the information we already have from the campaign performance before to drive that conversion, to drive that better customer experience, and drive that activity? Are there any questions straight out the gate as we've just kind of overviewed the core functionality of the product? What you got?
Eric, I see the accelerated offering control would look like labels to me. Earlier,
They are.
Best channel, email, best channel, strictly labels?
No. So when you're dealing with a decision point, the same interface that you would use to actually drive segmentation and to drive these different phases of the funnel are going to be able to be used. So again, using attributes and behaviors versus an A/B test, which is going to give you the ability strictly to do a split. You can do at that point, if you are particularly angry with your creative team, you could do 8 separate splits and have a boatload of audience. You at this point literally can get as specific as you would like, but it's a game of how much do you have the creative to support and how much do you have the audience to support at the end of the day. Because if you're dealing with 100 users that are hitting your homepage every day, having 8 different splits, I'll see you in 10 years. Like, again, you can declare a winner eventually, but the statistical significance at that point is going to take literally years for you to be able to achieve. This, though, is going to be done strictly by a straight statistical split, and as well, just like you see here, if I want to actually boost that audience, I can literally just sit here and tick that straight up, press save, and then determine the unique ID field I want to use to do that split. So now at this point, for quite literally no reason at all, I have this split at 78-22. You can get obtusely specific here, but again, it depends on whether you're wanting to do that kind of split testing versus whether you're wanting to really just subdivide your audience. What's up, Andres? Sorry,
So,
1 minute.
The question is yesterday in camp they presented the funnel approach that you're showing here, like part of the roadmap. So is this live or is it gonna be live?
So at this point, this is not a live campaign, so that you see that right down here.
Not the campaign.
The functionality.
This right here today, this live.
Perfect.
Yes.
So the capability is there.
What is happening that is new is going to be the ability to utilize triggered activations. So that is something that is coming in the upcoming quarter. That's the piece that's going to incorporate a lot of this real-time 2.0 functionality. What real-time 2.0 at a fundamental level enables you to do is it's a push to say, great, here's the event that happened. Based upon that, I want to then trigger this action. Versus saying, okay, great, here's somebody who completed this action. I'm going to pull that list out of Audience Studio and then go from there. So again, that is the only non-GA functionality that we are showing in this demo today. Literally everything that I have up here right now, you can do if you own the product. What you got?
Is this A/B test and split? Can the results be integrated with Treasure Insights? So could you see
Absolutely. And all of this can absolutely be integrated, and as well as recorded inside of tables that are specifically there within your customer journey orchestration functions. So again, as with most things inside the Treasure Data Platform, our audit logs give us the ability to do all kinds of messy, wonderful things in terms of exactly what changes are made and how things are adjusted. Any other questions? What's up and back?
Does the real-time trigger for the 2.0 also apply to paid media audiences?
So you can certainly apply real-time triggers to those paid media audiences. Again, you're going to be at that point limited by the actual DSP you're playing with. By all means, again, you can trigger those updates to go as frequently as you would like, just like you could with any activation today. But that's where that triggered activation is going to then enable you to have really that push of additional data that you're going to be doing in real time based upon that delta. Sorry.
Are the advertising platforms downstream capable of managing that real-time audience ad update?
So the question is whether or not these audience platforms are capable of actually incorporating these kind of real-time updates. The answer is yes for certain types of audiences. So if you are strictly pumping out an audience and saying, great, I want this specific list of users that you're going to then use to target within like a Facebook, a Google, or an otherwise campaign, yes, they are capable of doing it. There is going to be some processing time that's going to be associated with Google and Facebook respectively. But at the end of the day, it's that provision of that data is going to be done in real time from treasure data to them. Now, if you are then lookalike modeling on top of it as an audience expansion, and then we're wanting to recreate that lookalike audience, there's another SLA associated with that from both Google and Facebook. But at the end of the day, it gives you the opportunity to really be able to update that in a much more dynamic fashion than what you can today. Any other questions before we keep kind of trucking along? Because now I want to talk about how you actually get there. Because again, tools are great. But as well, Brandon, you know the tripod of people, process, and actual tool is incredibly essential to actually play this forward. So what have you seen actually work well with clients that you've worked with when they start working with orchestration platforms like customer journey orchestration and with treasure data?
Sure. So I'd say one thing is starting really small, making sure that you have predefined use cases and alignment across the business and the technical components. Like as Eric showed, you can create one of these journeys in a matter of minutes, but making sure that there's everything from the content to actually engage at every different journey stage and consumption of ultimately the journey audiences, right? Great question out in the back, like, is there a use case to support getting the data real time, right? That's something that we should be thinking about up front, and really making sure that there's a partnership between, I'll say, the CDP technical team and the business team and your content teams, agencies, et cetera. Also the ability to really monitor and measure and iterate. So you might have a journey that you created 3 months ago. That's great, but do you know how it's performing? Is the journey overall eligibility of different customers growing? What do the journey stages themselves look like? So are we actually getting, do we have one journey stage that's got less than 1% of our customers? Does it make sense to collapse that down, right? Is it time to do some A/B testing? And so all of these are different things that I would consider, like, I guess making sure that the solution is working on day one and then also continues to improve over time.
Totally. So when you say start simple, does that mean like, cool, I want to market to everybody? How does that look?
So having a target audience, obviously. So if we're talking about product-based marketing, you might have different product lines that you've identified. Brandon is a good fit for product line A and Eric's a good fit for product line B. And you might have a journey that is based on customer engagement, right? I just want you to engage with my brand. I want you to revisit our website. I want you to create an account or download the mobile application. You might also have a purchase journey, right? So in those purchase journeys, that's obviously what you're driving towards and measuring conversion. And so having, I guess, that clear goal or loyalty in some cases. So all of those need to, of course, be measured as well. So having an idea of what does success look like, and then creating and managing the solution.
Totally. And so have you seen any success with kind of looking at this from almost a service level or a post-sale journey, like not necessarily in terms of loyalty, but how does that kind of flow into the mix for you and your clients?
Yeah, so the loyalty stuff is interesting. I think we all are striving as businesses to drive recurring revenue, right? So making sure that you have a clear path and have kind of planned those steps out before they happen of when do we re-engage with Brandon? Can we use some of the machine learning models for like next best products, right? To understand that Brandon made we'll say in a retail example, Brandon made a product purchase for a shirt. Well, that pairs really well with these pants. And so we're gonna reach back out to him in a week or 2 weeks and make sure that we give him the best possible offer to actually drive recurring revenue and repeated purchase behavior.
Absolutely. So for those customers who are sitting in the room who may have a lengthier purchase cycle, so again, those individuals who have these 6, 12, 18-month cycle windows, how does this work?
It's a good question. Obviously, every business is unique. I mean, if we think about like even automotive, for example, right? So I don't know about you guys, but I'm not purchasing a car every year. And so understanding how long that journey might look like, and making sure you actually have the data to understand the journey, right? So we can build virtually whatever you want in the customer journey itself, but do you actually have the first party information or even third party information to actually build out each journey stage, right? So knowing in that auto example that I'm interested in a sedan and a sporty sedan, and here's where I stand. I've test drove a car. When do I re-engage? Is there a handoff to your business development team or your inside sales team? Or are we talking like direct to consumer? I don't need to talk to a salesperson essentially and just add to cart and purchase.
Totally. So you talked about kind of that pass off to like that business development team.
Yep.
So have you seen success with this? How have you seen that play out with your customers, and how have you seen them leverage this for better, at that point, customer experience?
Sure. So it's actually interesting. I think when you think about these journey stages, the journey itself might be a purchase journey in this case, right? But having alignment and just kind of shared terminology with how do we treat customers who we've identified as a high value customer, and this is the specific stage of the journey that I'm in, and handing that off to them directly, or BDR, a list of here's our high conversion likelihood leads, is really powerful in order to actually generate obviously purchase behavior and shorten the time to purchase.
Totally. And I mean, I think it's also a matter of looking at, great, how valuable is this customer to me? Because quite frankly, somebody who's literally never purchased from me before, I know nothing about, and really have no reason to believe is going to come back, is somebody that I'm probably not going to be willing to spend as much money acquiring that next purchase from. I mean, we've seen multiple, whether you want to talk about auto, whether you want to talk about retail, whether you want to talk about hospitality. Again, there are certain customers who you frankly know are going to purchase more frequently or are going to purchase more from you. And frankly, at that point, you're going to be more willing to lay out your marketing budget in order to convert them. So a tool like customer journey orchestration gives you and your marketing teams the functional ability to say, okay, great, this is my high value customer journey. And so just like we've divided up here in terms of best channel, giving you that ability to functionally say, great, here are my high value customers. I may be bidding 3 times as much for them on Google. I may be bidding 4 times as much for them on Facebook. I may be spending an exorbitantly higher amount for them because I know that they're going to deliver 10x the return than the average customer who comes in, like in a hospitality example, for somebody that's going to stay at a hotel once a year versus somebody who's going to stay every other week who's traveling on business. It's a game of making sure that you understand how your customers fit into the mix, and then as well, where you're driving the KPIs behind this to then construct these journeys. So Brandon, from a people perspective, change is hard. Like no one, and I mean literally no one, loves change. New tools, change, whether we want to admit it or not. So how do you encourage adoption?
It's a good question. I think identifying the players in the room, like before you even start, is really important, right? So smaller businesses might have a few people running the show. Other more complex, larger businesses might have IT and data management and data science teams and marketing ops, and then product marketing and content and creative teams, right? So understanding who needs to be involved and basically putting that on their radar from the get-go. And planning for it, right? So I want Eric, who's on the product marketing team, to be engaged step one when we're designing what the journeys are going to look like and doing discovery. And then also, obviously, through the testing process and making sure if there are legacy tools, let's say you wanted to gain the value out of these centralized journeys and really connected customer experiences, you might have journeys that have been built out in like an ESP, right? Where I want the ability to connect my ESP, SMS, mobile push, to my social media, everything else in one place. And so making sure that you're ready to shift your journey over that might be built in your ESP into treasure data, and what does that look like, right? So there's obviously more from like a knowledge transfer and take training, like make sure that you've been pulled into the fold essentially and are ready from everything from a go live perspective of this journey is now live to sunsetting any legacy system technology.
Totally. And I mean, honestly, I've seen this across multiple clients. I'm like, there's nothing uglier than a product manager who feels like they have been left out of this kind of change process. And then all of a sudden you're sunsetting their existing tool and there's an absolute fit to be thrown. At the end of the day, the sooner you can bring your team into the fold and really start to drive that change management to say, hey, I get it. This is how you've done this before. We don't have to change everything by any means. If you're using your ESP today, you can literally use this same kind of orchestration platform to be the first shoe or the first brick to drop, right? If I already have a full awareness flow that I have orchestrated across an existing ESP, fabulous. Why would I rebuild it? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of energy, and your marketers are going to be fit to be tied if you functionally ask them to do that. However, where there's opportunity to also incorporate and help kind of de-silo your organization, the CDP is kind of a catalyst for that in general as you look at it from a tooling perspective. But as well, this is another way to start bringing those different marketing groups together. And as well, the more truly aligned that you can be around this, A, the better off you're going to be in terms of spending your actual marketing budget, but B, the more effective it's going to be in terms of conversion.
Yeah, I guess just to add on that too, there's been a shift over the last, I'll say 5-10 years from the omni-channel experience, right? Can I engage with my customers on their preferred channels and meet them essentially where they're at, to these connected experiences, right? Am I getting the same offer, the same messaging? Does the brand really know me? It can be really hard to do that if you're managing journeys in multiple different places. So treasure data obviously makes it really easy to build these connected journeys and connected experiences ultimately that customers are looking for.
Definitely. So I cannot count on both my hands the number of times I've heard from clients, oh my God, this seems like it's going to take 200 people to support this particular tool. How on earth is my ragtag marketing team of 6, of 3, of 4 going to be able to actually use this? So for those teams that are running a little leaner, what do you advise?
I think in many cases, the limiting factor is content and creatives. So it's almost a topic that can be extended to even just segmentation, right? Outside of customer journeys, right? I can create hundreds of segments in a matter of a couple minutes in treasure data, but do you actually have a message? Does your content team have a way that they want to personalize to them, right? So it's almost like the business drives the technology, right? So we need to make sure that we're upfront understanding what are the different segments and audiences. Is there a message associated to those audiences, and back those into the number of segments, the number of journeys, what the journey goals are, and then each stage as well. And so this is almost as a tech talk, I feel like we have to plug Gen AI, right? So there's obviously a lot of generative AI tools out there, and like from a language model perspective, and it's been the highlight in tech of 2023. And I think as we progress into 2025, 2030, we're probably going to be seeing a mix of content that's being generated by these language models, as well as probably digital assets, right? I think one of the talks this morning actually talked a bit about that prediction as well. And so right now, I mean, really the limiting factor is going to be content creation more than anything else. But the tool is obviously easy to use, and there just needs to be a partnership with how do we want to personalize to these different audience or different journey stages?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I was literally having this conversation earlier today with somebody. Again, AI is absolute garbage at drawing hands. You don't want them necessarily generating your product photos if you are selling jewelry. Again, it's not the correct answer, and you've got to really fit this to your business at the end of the day and make sure that you understand exactly what your team's strengths are and where you can plug in those existing skill sets. But it's also a matter of, how can I take people who have been doing something in a similar but different way and show them how this is going to make their life functionally easier at the end of the day? Because truthfully, this is meant to be a time saver. So many marketers out there, myself included, 5-10 years ago when I was working in an agency, I had no less than 1,000 CSVs sitting in my downloads folder of audiences that I was uploading to Google, Facebook, and everywhere the heck else. How many of y'all are still sitting with boatloads of audiences and flat files inside your downloads folder today that you're uploading across and activating? Hopefully none of you, because you're all using
treasure data. Come on.
I mean, I hope y'all are doing better, but if not, we should talk. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of, great, now how can I take that and really progress it to that next level? Really helping to make sure that I'm meeting my customer where they are, right? Across all of this. And that as well, we're able to leverage this with some of the real-time innovations that are kind of popping into the mix. And on top of that, that you're able to leverage the machine learning that's literally built into the fabric of this platform to drive better outcomes for you and your marketing.